Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast, the place for conversations with adaptive athletes in the CrossFit space and beyond. I'm your host, Matt Hotho. This month, we on the podcast are celebrating Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month because I, your host, have cerebral palsy. That's right, I was born with it. It's on the right side of my body. And so in the month of March, we are going to be lifting up the voices of athletes who have CP. And we start today with Trent. Aaron has hemiplegic cerebral palsy affecting his left limbs, which for the record makes him a mirror image of me. But whereas I ended up in a CrossFit gym, Aaron ended up on a velodrome, training as a resident athlete at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs and competing in the UCI Paracycling World Championships, where he placed second and third. This conversation goes a lot of places. We get into what it takes to modify a bike when you can't operate a brake lever with your left hand. We spend real time talking about classification, how it works, what the panel process looks like, and what happened to Aaron's competitive results when the CP classification categories were restructured in 2010. His take on classification is something I think a lot of adaptive athletes in any sport need to hear. And we close on a piece that Aaron wrote on his blog about what it means to be called inspiring and what it doesn't mean. It's one of the more honest things I've read on this topic, and his answer when I brought it up didn't disappoint. So here's my conversation with Trent. Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. I'm here today with Trent. Aaron, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well, man. It's really good to finally have you on the show. And this one's special to me. I mean, back in 2016, I just started CrossFit and I posted on a forum. I can't remember which one. We had a little bit of debate about which one it was, but I just kind of threw it out there. Hey, I've got CP. And is anybody else out there doing CrossFit? And you showed up in that thread, and I started following your story, your blog, and I realized, wait a second, you're not just doing CrossFit, you're also a competitive cyclist, and you're training, or you had trained for the Paralympics and competed at a world championship level, which is just a completely different set of athletics that I was doing and that I ever thought was possible for someone with CP. So I'm glad we're finally able to dig into your story. So tell me, although I may have already given it away, what makes you an adaptive athlete?
I have hemiplastic cerebral palsy that affects my left limbs.
Okay. So you're like me, but on the other side.
Correct. We're like either we can complete each other or we're evil twins.
Yeah, like one of us gets to be a really perfect athlete and the other one just no hope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you're quite a bit taller than I am. So if we were like one perfect athlete, it'd be like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger being twins.
I'll take that. You're Danny, yeah. I'm Arnold.
Obviously.
All right. So you have CP. I think I read that you got it from an infection or a stroke, an allergic reaction that you had at a young age, like 4 months old.
Yeah, I was 4 months old and I had an allergic reaction to some medication. And then I had a stroke. And so I think it might not technically be cerebral palsy because a lot of time that's reserved for birth and or in utero. So I was 4 months old, but the symptoms are basically the exact same. Because I was so young, I was able to have like the brain plasticity to recover some function that somebody who had a stroke older in life might not be able to regain.
Yeah. And so how does, now that you're growing up, you're like late 30s, how does that impact you now today?
I button all my shirts with one hand. I'm a little bit awkward when I cut a steak. And I have to keep exercising. So really to maintain function in my left limbs. When I get lazy, I really decline really fast on the left side.
Yeah, like you atrophy really quickly.
Atrophy, strength, my spasticity gets worse, and I just kind of generally have more aches and pains.
Yeah, dude, the aches and pains are real. They are.
Yeah.
Especially getting in a few months, I'll be 40. Well, you too, and you know we've got it. We've got it coming, dude.
Yeah, I'm not young anymore. Maybe not old, but I'm not young.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like sometime in like my mid 30s, it was like, oh, this thing is going to really stick around for a while. Did you ever have a doctor tell you like, hey, if you don't do anything about this, going to just get much worse? Like, did they ever give you like a worst case scenario?
I was always told that that a possible side effect or possible aspect of CP is just experiencing aging much more quickly than the general population.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always been a big motivator to keep exercising.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a doctor tell me that like, you're going to be using a walker in your, like by the time you're 50, if you don't do anything, if you don't do it, you know, like I'm like mid-20s and oh, by the way, healthcare is like dropped out of the picture right now. Right. You know, cause they don't treat it as an adult condition. And so, yeah. And so I'm like, okay, cool. What are my options? He goes, you can go to PT. I'm like, cool. Will they cover it? Nope. You know, and it's just like, okay, then we got to figure something else out here. So for me, that became CrossFit in my mid-30s. But for you, you seem to stumble into other athletic pursuits that are different from CrossFit, but are really interesting and I think illustrative for people who want to figure out ways they can be fit as adaptive athletes. So you started running with some friends?
I'm the oldest of 8 kids, and I've got a couple of brothers, and so there was always fierce competition.
Okay.
Running races, you know. So I've always been running or riding bikes or anything with wheels. And I joined a CrossFit gym back in, I think it was 2006. And I was 20. And, and then I did that for a while, and I started riding bikes when I was about a year later when I was 21, and fell in love with it really fast. And then found out about the Paralympic team, and I went to the qualifiers for the 08 games, Beijing.
Yeah, Beijing.
I went to qualifiers in 08, and I'd only been riding for maybe a year and a half, and I didn't qualify, but I got into the talent pool, and then qualified for World Championships the next year, and then ended up being my most successful year. I placed second and third at the World Championships.
Okay, in different races.
In 2 different races. Okay. Second in the 1 kilometer time trial, and third in the individual pursuit.
So when you were learning to cycle, did you find that you had to make modifications? Like your first couple of bikes, were they just normal bikes and you're like, okay, I'll figure this thing out?
No. Okay. I had to make modifications right away because I cannot use a brake lever with my left hand. Okay. And so I mounted a brake lever on the bottom of my handlebars. I'm going to have to send you like some pictures to illustrate this because it's not going to make any sense. So that was back in the day when everything was operated by cables. Now that bikes have hydraulics and hydraulic brakes and electronic shifters, I have a much more elegant setup. But again, both levers have always been on my dominant side. And then I've also have like different ways of shifting, so I can operate all my gears. All done by the right side.
Okay. Does your left leg still clip in? Do you have to change your pedals at all, or are your pedals completely the same?
My pedals are all the same. So my left leg works. It just is less powerful.
Yeah. So when you were kind of figuring out biking, the first couple of times that you didn't have that brake on the extra brake on the right side, did you realize pretty quickly that you're like, wait a second, I can't get to this brake here. I got to move it.
I rode, so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to use the left-hand brake very well at first. And so I immediately swapped the cables. So my right hand was controlling the front brake. And that might sound like, I don't know, scary for some people, but like motorcycles have a bigger front brake and they primarily brake with the front. And after you figure out the technique, using your front brakes primarily doesn't mean you're going to go over the handlebars. And there's like 70% of your stopping power, it comes from your front brake and about 30% from your back brake. So your front brake is way, way better at slowing you down.
Mm.
So for a while, I was just running with primarily just one brake. And then I moved to Colorado where there are mountains, and I knew that I needed to be able to have both brakes as an option. So that's when I got more creative about what I was doing.
So when you moved to Colorado, I think I read in your blog, that was to move to the Olympic Training Center?
Yes. Yeah. I was a resident athlete at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs from 2010 to 12.
Wow. So you lived, like, what does that mean to be a resident athlete at the training center?
Yeah. I lived at the Olympic Training Center, and I had lunch at the Olympic Training Center, and I had access to all of the training and sports med and rehab facilities. And
is the expectation when you're doing that everything else in your life is on pause, like schooling, jobs, that kind of stuff? Is the expectation that it is your full-time job?
They're not so much with school. 'Cause they do want the athletes to be able to be employable after their jobs or after they're done competing. But it is a full-time job. So a lot of the athletes will either have a job at the training center, or will have a part-time job, or we'll just have their money from their stipend. Okay.
So what was your situation? Did you have a stipend?
I had a small stipend, and I had, not a lot of expenses. So because room and board and food were all taken care of.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so how old were you at this time? 24?
20, I think it was 23. I moved in when I was 23, and I was there for, I think about 2.5 years.
So then do you have like a training cohort that you're like training with, like friends that are also para athletes that you're kind of competing against or building relationships with?
Yeah. I had, there were maybe a half a dozen para cyclist athletes that were living at the training center while I was there. And so we would train together pretty frequently. I also became good friends with some of the triathletes who were resident athletes there at the time.
Seems like there would be crossover there in like the cyclists and the triathletes.
Yeah. So for the non-specific rides, we would meet and just all go out, and for a really long, like if you're riding for 3 or 4 hours, it's just really nice to have somebody to ride with and talk to.
Yeah, I would imagine. Nice. So let's talk about another part of para sports, which is classification.
Oh, wow. So when I said that 2009 was my best year, and also like my first year competing internationally, part of that was that there was a specific category for CP, and there were CP 1 through 4. And I was classified in CP4, so the least affected.
Sure. Which normally us with hemiplegic, mild hemiplegic, like we both have, is generally the least.
Yeah. In 2010, the classification system was changed, and I was CP athletes were then competing with BK amputees, below the knee amputees, and the BKs generally tend to have a little bit more function, in my opinion. Sure. I think at Worlds, I was able to get some 4ths and 5ths, and like in that range after the classification change. So,
and I think I was watching the 2020 Tokyo finals for men's C4, and it looked like it was 2 gentlemen who were BKs essentially.
Yes.
I would imagine that is tough. So I'd love to sit on classification just for a minute here, but I would imagine that's tough because, like, yeah, even if you're a BK amputee, you still have full neuromuscular control of your glute and some part of your posterior chain and quad.
Your entire glute. There may be some who have some impairment, but I think the typical BK, like the classic BK, has full use of their quad, their hamstring, and their glute.
Right. And we just don't on that affected side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when we do, it fatigues at a rate that's different than our our unaffected side. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah. I don't know if I've had the varying rates. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever like thought about that as being like part of CP or just like I get tired.
Okay. Fair.
I work hard.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm not sure if that's, I'm not sure if that's something that did affect me. Like the fatiguing. So.
Okay. Gotcha. So, but you were saying that in 2009, with your best result, there was a classification system that had CP separated into 4 categories. And then in 2010, they changed it to be a C category, which I think just stands for cycling. And then 1 through 5, with 5 being the least impaired, 1 being the most impaired.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Who sets those classification standards?
The International Paralympic Committee sets those sets the categories.
Did you have friends at the training center who were also going through reclassification and getting moved around into different categories?
I can't remember if there was anybody who got moved around at that time, but classification, like I've seen people like move up and down in crazy ways. I'm not a doctor, so but I've seen people. I saw somebody who was initially classified as a C5, and then was ultimately classified as a C3.
Okay, wow. So jumping two classification tiers. Dropping,
but dropping from a category standpoint, but from a competitive standpoint, definitely like jumping. He was very good. He won at the international level quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I would imagine if you're obviously the least impaired in your category, you're going to have an advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the fuzziness in parasport and in classification. So
it's the reason parasport exists, and it's also the parasport's biggest curse. Is classification.
Yeah. What did the classification process look like for you then in terms of like medical professionals, paperwork, that kind of stuff? Did the Olympic Training Center take that on, or was that burden put on you?
For every event that had classification as an option, there was a panel. You would have to schedule to go in front of the panel, and then they would classify you, and they would give you either if it was a national event, then you would have like a pending sort of classification. And if there was some fuzziness, they might check you again at the next event. And then your first international event, you would also go in front of a panel to be classified. And then some people would have like a permanent classification, and other people, they would watch them over time.
So I could imagine someone who's like a BK would probably get a permanent classification. No pun intended, but it's pretty cut and dry.
Exactly.
Yeah. But someone like us with the neuromuscular kind of condition, that maybe if we're find different training adaptations or push through a barrier that we've had before, or find a different piece of equipment, maybe we are actually able to get more power output out of affected limbs. And so you could find yourself maybe being recategorized.
In cycling, you probably wouldn't be reclassified for like finding a different equipment, because especially a C4.
But if you're going to an international meet, and let's say you've been training this whole year in a C4, hypothetically stick with me here. You're training a C4, you go to this meet, they evaluate you. Is it like 48 hours out from the meet, they could evaluate you and put you in like C5?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
The first classification, your first international classification, especially for a neuro, is always like kind of a stressful period because you might get classed up. You might go from a C4 to C5. I think when they changed the classification system, they initially put me as a C5, and then we appealed it, and they were like, and then I went and got reclassified and was a C4. So, which was better.
But C4 is still BKs competing against you. Yeah.
And C5 is primarily upper limb impairment.
Yes, I remember reading that. Yeah.
So, a CP athlete competing, a hemiplegic CP athlete competing in C5 would be competing with people with 2 good legs.
Right. Yeah.
So,
do you have any other thoughts on classification? I realize we sat here for a minute, but that's a topic I'm definitely interested in wanting to learn more about.
I don't really have any thoughts. Like I said, it's necessary and it's frustrating. But you can't get away from it. There's never going to be a fair classification system for everybody. And so, I think that the people who are in charge of classification do try to do a good job. And generally, the classification system isn't that bad.
Okay. And I guess my last question on it is that panel that you were going before at international or national meets, what was it comprised of? Were there medical professionals on it? And if so, were they doing like medical exams on you, running you through a battery of tests?
Yes. Yeah, they were. So there were always at least one doctor on the panel, maybe some PTs. I don't remember exactly, but they would have you, or they would have me, like a neuro, they would have me do like grip tests, and then they would do reflex testing. So they'd have you, sit on a hospital bed and hit your knee with the little rubber hammer and see, like, do you have normal reflexes? Then they would have you walk, and they would watch your gait. They'd have you hop on one leg. They'd have you hop on both legs, just to see what what your function was. And I think they might also have done like measurements. So like, what's the diameter of your calf or your quad?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would imagine that would be telling.
Yeah. I mean, I know that like, there's a sizable difference between my left leg and right leg. So,
yeah.
And it gets more pronounced the more weight I put on. Because my left leg just does not gain muscle at the rate that my right leg does.
So let's talk a little bit more about cycling, because in just preparing for this episode, I was looking up a lot of the different races y'all do. I did not realize how interesting cycling could be. We've had in the CrossFit Games, the able-bodied CrossFit Games, the crit come up. They've done something like that. They've done road races. Typically in adaptive fitness, we just play around on the Echo bike or the on the Echo bike, where we're like trying to accumulate calories, but you're just stationary.
Is that the one where you move your arms too?
Yeah.
Oh man,
dude, I bet you could. I'd love to know how many calories you could get in a minute on that thing.
It would depend on how much I hated having to use my arms to ride a bike.
It's unnatural, isn't it?
It's just such a weird idea to me.
It is. No, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Sometimes the C2 bikes show up, which are more like traditional, like, seated stationary bikes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so interested in looking at some of the cycling races. So walk me through, what a Madison race is.
Oh man. So we definitely did not do the Madison in Para, but when I was living in Colorado, I had an able-bodied friend who I threw Madison with. And it's the craziest. It's the best race in cycling, because you have 2 partners on a team, and you have one person who is racing and you have the other person who is resting. And this all happens on a velodrome. So a velodrome, an international velodrome, is 250 meters in length. So a lot shorter than like even a 400 meter track and field track. And it
has banking.
It has banking. Yeah. So the typical international track has 45 degrees of banking in the corners. So 45 degrees is half of 90 degrees. Yeah. So it's very steep.
Right.
So in the Madison, you have your partner, the teammate who's racing is racing typically at the bottom of the track. And then the resting partner is riding around at the top of the track, very high on the steep banking. And then when the person who's racing comes and gets close, the person who's resting swoops down, grabs their hand, flings off of them, and goes back into the race. So an international an Olympic marathon is 50 kilometers. I think that's 200 laps, I believe. You can fact check me. But it's a lot of laps, and they will typically race that race at an average of nearly 60 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
Which is 37.2 miles an hour. Like, the speed that a Madison goes off, even an amateur Madison, is so fast, because you can recover and then go and recover and go. And then not only are you racing in this style, there's also every so many laps, there's a sprint where you can gain points. And so I think it's 5, 3, 2, and 1 to the top 4 teams. And then if you gain a lap, then you're just leading by a lap. And so they go by laps, and then they go by points. So there's so much strategy that goes into it.
So they don't do the Madison and Para because it involves too much like coordination of throwing of the
Yes.
Obviously the whipping the other person around.
Yeah, they don't want Para to be like a circus spectacle. And if we were doing Madison, that it would just be a crash fest.
Okay. Have you tried Madison?
Yes. Yeah, I had a Madison partner when I was in Colorado, and we would do like the Thursday night like amateur races at the track. We would do Madison together sometimes.
Okay.
It's really fun. And it's crazy. Really, really hard.
Wow. That's crazy. And you were telling me that all of these indoor races, you're on a fixed gear.
Yes, you are on fixed gear.
Okay.
So you have to pick your gear before you even start racing.
Wow. That's nuts. Okay. So let's talk about the two races that you definitely got to do, the 1K or the 1 kilometer and the pursuit.
Yes.
So the 1K, I would assume it's just 1K for time.
That's correct. It's on a 250 meter track. It's 4 laps. You start from a standing start. There's a gate that holds you, and it has like this pneumatic brake, and it's connected to the timing system. And then you get a countdown. So it's beeps. So beep, 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 beep. And I can still hear these beeps in my head. And so you start your bike from a standing start, and then you just go for 4 laps. And it's probably the most painful event in cycling that I've ever done. Because you do pretty much sprint the whole time, but you can't sprint for a minute. You just load up with lactic acid, and then the last lap is just trying to keep the pedals moving. Yeah,
and then you were telling me that because you're locked in and it's a fixed gear, even once you've crossed that finish line, you've got to your legs have to keep moving.
Yeah, you can't just stop. Now, like, you can let off all the pressure, but you do have to remember to keep turning over, because if you don't, then the bike will throw you off.
Yeah. Has that ever happened to you?
I have been bucked a little bit, and then was able to get my legs moving again and not get flung off the bike.
Okay.
But I think 2 or 3 times that's happened to me, where the back wheel has come off the ground, and then I corrected.
And if I were to tell you that the current men's world record for the C4 category in the 1K was 1 minute, 2 seconds, 0.021, would that sound right?
Yeah, which is crazy, because that would have been like an able-bodied, like, world championship medal performance like 12 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So that's a testament to how good the athletes have gotten, the gear has gotten.
Yeah. Aerodynamics have come a long way. There's been some changes in the position that are allowed. so times have come down in part because of equipment, but the para athletes have gotten insanely fast.
What was your best 1K? If you don't mind.
My best kilo was, I think, a 109.
Okay, that's still insane, dude. I'll go on the C2 bike in my gym tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, Monday, and I'll see how quickly I can bang out 1,000 meters.
Let me know.
In fact,
how it goes.
Anybody listening to this in the CrossFit community, go into your gym, hit 1K on the C2 bike, and just see what you can do. Where would you tell them to gear it on the damper? Like a 5, a 6, or put it all out at 10?
Well, I probably wouldn't tell them to put it at a 10 because they have to get it started from 0. You don't get to roll into this. So,
okay.
So it needs to be a gear that you can get started, but also has enough resistance so you're not spinning out during your kilo. And I don't know what that is for our listeners, but
we'll see.
Probably not 10.
No, I'm probably somewhere around like a 6, 7. There's a gentleman who I'd love for you to meet named George Simon Gooding that I think would take you up on this. You're still going to beat him, but that guy's an animal. He'll probably crank it to a 10 and take it away. He's in my division. Well, he's crazy.
Nice.
All right, let's talk about one other race, and that's the Pursuit. I also watched this one on YouTube in preparation for this, and this sounds like a really fun race. So tell me about how it kind of works.
Yeah, I love the Pursuit. The Pursuit is 4 kilometers. So on a 250 meter track, it's 16 laps. And the idea is that you need to start fast enough to not lose time, but not too fast so you burn out and kill yourself. And this race typically lasts for 4.5 to 5 minutes. Okay. I'm not sure what the C4 world record is. I think it's probably in the teens or 20s, 418 or 420 something, but I'm not sure.
All right.
And you have your coach will be standing at the start finish line, and there's a couple of ways to do this, but typically they'll yell your splits out, so your lap time. And what you're looking for is to be very consistent with your laps, because that's the fastest. The way to go fastest is to be very stable. And once you settle in after the start, and then maybe pick it up a little bit at the end. But that's for qualification. So Pursuit is, as the name implies, is a bit of a chase. Yeah. When you get into the finals, if you're in the gold, silver, or the bronze fourth final, there's 2 ways to win. One way is to complete 4,000 meters faster than your opponent. And the other way to win is to catch your opponent. Sometimes instead of giving you lap splits, your coach will tell you if you're up or down on your opponent.
Yeah. Okay.
And so there can be strategy on that.
Because you guys start on separate sides of the velodrome.
We at the exact opposite side of the velodrome. So if you watch Pursuit on the internet, you'll a lot of times see a split screen where and at the start finish line, you'll have one guy going one way and the other guy going the other way. And you can see what the progress is based on that.
So you could do this with a friend at the gym conceivably, where you just you can't get more than 125 meters up on your opponent, right?
Exactly. That's right.
I think we're going to bring some cycling into the adaptive CrossFit space, y'all. We're going to hop on some C2 bikes and we're just going to go for it. Pick a friend, go for it. And you've got to stay with each other for 4 minutes. And if someone gets 125 meters ahead, you're done.
That's right. So like for energy pathways, the individual Pursuit is a lot like the mile in running.
Okay.
So it's like, I think it's 80% aerobic, 20% anaerobic. So, if you're suited for 5-minute efforts, then challenge all your friends.
I love it. All right. Can I interest you in a lightning round?
Sure.
Yes. Okay, cool. So whether or not we started talking on bodybuilding.com or on tnation.com, I have a 2 truths and a lie for you related to the bodybuilding.com forums, which do not exist any longer. Okay, ready? 2 truths and a lie. These are things that bodybuilding.com made popular or was known for happening in their forum. First, go mad, gallon of milk a day, that challenge. Second, dry scooping your pre-workout. Or three, a multi-week debate about the number of days in a week that was made the subject of a 2016 documentary.
So the lie is go mad because that is the Mark Ripto starting strength thing, I think.
So they're actually all true.
Oh, damn. So I know that I have seen how many days are in a week. I've seen the thread. I've read it.
Yeah.
Do you also know about the copy pasta that came out of bodybuilding.com?
I do not.
There's one, it's like this guy would just post on like all of these progress pics. He's like, he was like, you're looking huge, you're looking tight. It was like this long thing of like, just like telling these guys that they look great to keep posting progress pics. And it's just an amazing copy pasta.
What did you take for energy when you were working out all that time?
Man, so nutrition and cycling has come a long way. The people who are racing now are eating 90 to 150 grams of carbs an hour, which is like 400 to 700 calories. So we weren't eating nearly that much, but I ate a lot of, I just had a lot of like sports drinks and gels and bars, granola bars.
What was your favorite way to spend a rest day?
Eating.
Okay. Free food at the Olympic training complex.
Exactly.
Okay.
I just love to eat.
What's one goal you're working on right now?
I am trying to finish my master's degree.
How much longer you got?
I should finish after the summer semester.
Nice. If we're listening to music, what are we listening to?
What's the context?
We're just biking for like chill.
If we're just chill biking, probably going to be listening to like golden age of indie rock. So Death Cab, Decemberists, The National, Beirut. Yeah.
That is good chill music. If you've just got to do some zone 2 work or anything like that. Fill in the blank. Adaptation has taught me blank.
There's a different way to do the thing than you think. That's probably not a great answer, but there's most likely a way to do the thing that you want to do if you want to do it bad enough.
All right. Well, as we get ready to wrap up, I want to read something for you from your blog.
Oh, man.
Don't worry. It's on being an inspiration, and I found it, and I don't know. It spoke to me. So don't say I'm inspiring unless I actually inspired you. There's a lot of talk in disabled sport about inspiration. Someone will complete a race, and people will gush about how inspiring that display has been and how much this person has overcome. But what does that mean? What good is accomplished by simply calling someone inspiring? I think it's a far overused word. Simply being a crippled kid doing a sport I love is nothing inspiring at all. I'm just like a million other people doing a hobby or a sport that they love. The difference, the only way I feel worthy of being an inspiration, is if someone looks at what I've done and decides to put in the hard work to become a better athlete or a better person. That is true inspiration. To look at what has been done and making the effort to become better. Even more importantly, I would feel that my efforts in time and cycling had not been completely selfish if one kid with a disability looks at what I've done and realizes the barrier to sport is just another obstacle to be overcome and goes on to lead a healthy, active lifestyle they may once have thought unattainable. I would love to be the catalyst behind some child going on to win a Paralympic gold medal, but being the nudge towards a more healthy lifestyle is the sort of inspiration I want to be.
I 100% still agree with that. I've probably condensed that, like for myself, I probably condensed that whole idea down into just the sentence, don't talk about it, be about it. Because it's there when I was competing in the Paralympics or with the Paralympic team, I never did make the Paralympics. That's fine. That's fine. I went to worlds and competed internationally, so that was all cool. But there's a lot of inspiration porn, where it's like, oh, this person did this cool thing and I feel good now. But that doesn't really mean much. Unless there's, something that happens. Like inspiration isn't just a fuzzy feeling. It's like a drive to action.
Yeah. When I read that, I was thankful for you engaging with me on that T Nation thread and just being somebody who could say, yeah, I did this. It's doable. And I think you asked me a couple of questions about, what my impairment's like and that kind of thing. But to have community, to know that someone's out there, that is inspiring, and then to kind of, I think I've always been just drawn towards you, and I'm excited to hear your story through this podcast because you're someone who's inspired me to really try harder and realize that it's possible to do things.
That's cool. Yeah, that's that's really cool. Yeah. And I'm happy because it seems like I don't know, like we're facing this aging with CP thing strong and fit and healthy.
Yeah, no, that's right. And we're better partners, we're better parents for that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, dude. Well, I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. I so enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it was great talking to you.
Well, that's my conversation with Aaron Trent. A few things are going to stick with me from this conversation. First, the classification discussion. I don't think we talk about this enough in adaptive sport. Aaron lived it at the highest level. He went from placing on the World Championship podium in a CP-specific category to being reclassified and competing against athletes with a fundamentally different impairment profile. And that's not a small thing. Classification is what makes parasports fair. It's also what makes them legitimate. And yet sometimes classification categories need to continue to be worked on to ensure more fairness. But it's better to have them and have a fair playing field than not. So that's something worth sitting with, especially as our community continues figuring out how we do that in adaptive CrossFit. And then there's the inspiration conversation. Aaron wrote years ago that being called inspiring is mostly meaningless unless it actually drives someone to do something. He's condensed that whole idea now into 6 words. Don't talk about it, be about it. I think that's a pretty good operating principle for all of us. Do me a favor, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. An athlete, a coach, a gym owner who's thinking about starting an adaptive program, maybe a parent of a child with cerebral palsy, maybe a future Aaron. Leave a review and subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss what's coming next. I'm Matt Hotho, and I'll see you next time.